Brothers and sisters, first of all, thanks very much for the invite and the chance to say a few words. About 12 months ago, the Department for the Environment and Climate Change issued 2 press releases on successive days. The first announced that the UK energy bill would help the government meet all its carbon emission targets. The second press release, the following day, announced that applications for drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea had smashed all records. Add to that the choking off of subsidy to feed-in tariffs. Add to that the obscene profits of the energy cartel. Add to that the go-ahead for gas-fired power stations. Add to that the authority to start drilling for shale gas on my old town near Blackpool and across the whole of the UK. And what you get is that the claim for this to be the greenest government ever is up there with it all this in this together as one of the most fraudulent claims ever made by a British political leader. Now, Charles talked about the science. I mean, the science is there for every thinking human being. We've got to accept that it's carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels that's the cause of global warming. We're starting to see the social consequences internationally, always the poorest that get hit first. We see in the UK the increased risk of flooding, demonstrating the intervention of the Fire Brigade Union, confirming tangibly that climate change is a trade union issue. PCS is proud to be playing a role with growing numbers of trade unionists in linking up the battle against the economic crisis with the battle on the climate environmental crisis. Workplaces are responsible for 50% of CO2 emissions. Unions have a long and proud tradition of fighting around health and safety in defence of workers and their communities. PCS is playing a role, as I've said, in holding the employer to account, in promoting the idea that we should have workplace environmental reps, engaged in a wider number of environmental campaigns, supporting the industrial battle that we're currently engaged in. We, like all other public sector unions, are facing the fight of our lives, the biggest attack on our members' conditions in living memory, and I make the point that the People's Assembly can play a very important role in answering the question that trade unionists and PCS members ask: how and when are we going to be able to convert the decisions of the TUC in favour of coordinated action and, yes, a general strike into practice to inspire millions of people that the trade union movement can and should play a leading role and lead from the front. As others have said, the economic crisis and the climate crisis is a crisis of capitalism. We've seen the crash, we've seen the bailout to the speculators, we've seen our money used to bail them out, we've seen the deficit to become the pretext for the biggest attack on workers' living standards in living memory. And the case for climate jobs, in demonstrating that we're prepared to take action and mobilise action, this is an opportunity for us to say not just what we're against, but what we're in favour of. And that's why the proposals and the work around climate jobs can be absolutely fundamental to challenge the deception that in the 7th richest economy on the planet we can't afford decent public services and we can't invest in climate action. It's technically feasible, it's affordable, we can insulate homes and public buildings, we can integrate a public transport system and invest, yes, rather than shale gas extraction on areas like the Fylde Coast, we should be investing in offshore wind and wave technology as a credible and perfectly affordable alternative. I just want to finish by saying that we're going to work to update the climate jobs pamphlet, but most importantly, not just update the arguments, we need to update the campaign. Trade unions are always at their best and always will be at their best when they fight and are prepared to show they're prepared to fight tenaciously to defend members' interests. But trade unions are also at their best when they recognise the link between the industrial and the political struggle that we're engaged in. We've got to fight austerity, but we've got to put our alternative around climate jobs. We can engage trade union members, build support across the trade union movement, but most importantly, we've got to link the struggle of trade unionists with environmentalists. We've got to make sure that we support all the initiatives, and yes, direct action, and yes, the environmental movement must support trade union struggle as well. We've got to show that the fight for jobs and decent conditions and the fight for decisive action on climate change is part of the same fight to challenge the power of the energy giants, to challenge the tyranny of the markets, and to show in practice that another world, another socialist world, really is possible. Thanks for listening.